third and final myth is that this is more to do with core training, and it's the QL, or the Quadratus Lumborum, and obliques are rotational power muscles. So they are there to develop rotational power. The QL and the obliques are not there to develop rotational power. The muscles of your core are designed to prevent movement. That is why the fibers go in different directions. If you look at external obliques and internal obliques, they kind of go against each other. It's like a mesh. And then you've got rectus abdominis going up and down. And then you've got QL, again, coming diagonally down. So you've got all these different muscles. They are stabilizing muscles. What creates rotational power is the hip or the shoulder. So when you throw, essentially you throw from the hip. So you rotate the hip, then you tense the abdominals, and then the arm and the hand follow through, and the ball leaves the hand and you throw. Same with a punch, same with a golf swing, same with a kick. So we have to be able to rotate from the hip. So it's more important to rotate from the hip than it is to rotate from the spine. The spine can rotate, but it needs to be done in a specific way. So let's look at a lift as an example. So a lift, which would be high strength, so a heavy lift. So you would lift a heavy weight and you would do it slowly. The best muscles for that are the hip muscles. Strongest, biggest, most powerful muscles in the body. So you would go down, maintain neutral posture, grab onto the bar, you would stand up straight. You would push the hips forward and you would stand up straight. So all of that is coming from the hips. The spine is there to be in that position, and then as you come up, it stays taut in position and you come up. If you bend at the spine whilst you're doing that, that's called an energy leak. So you get the force produced gets leaked out, and it doesn't translate or transmit all the way up the body, down the arms and into the bar. If we take a movement sort of at the other end of the spectrum, which is low weight but very fast, i.e. a golf swing, which again, lots of rotation is needed in that, all of that comes from the hips. It doesn't come from the QL, and it doesn't come from the obliques. What happens there is when you get up to the top of the movement, yes, the spine is rotated, but what happens is when you go through that initial movement, there is a contraction of the core. So as you go to whip the hips through, there is a contraction of the core. What then happens as the club comes down, there is a very mild relaxation of the muscle. As you hit the ball, there is again another, let's just say, mild spike of the core muscles, again to stabilize the spine as the power comes through the hip. So at those two moments, that is where you need to translate the power into the swing and onto the ball. So there are two very mild contractions to be able to do that. So again, when we're talking about rotational power, we've got to talk about the hips and we've got to talk about the shoulders, because it's the shoulders which have the pecs and the lats around it. Again, two very strong, powerful muscles. And it's the hips that have the glutes around them. And just in some respects, when we're talking about lifting, the quads will be involved as well. Very sort of big, powerful muscles to be able to lift weight off the floor. So in both scenarios, the movement is initiated at the hips. Yes, the spine can bend with a golf swing or with a throw or with a punch, but when the impact happens, contraction. When the movement is initiated, contraction. So we need to understand movement slightly differently. It's not rotation from the spine. If we get rotation from the spine, we are at greater risk of injury, and we are also decreasing our performance. For the very simple reason, they aren't very powerful muscles. Glutes versus obliques, you're going to get lots more from the glutes. Glutes versus QL, you're going to get lots more from the QL. So we need to understand it in that fashion. Rather than increasing risk of injury and decreasing performance with lots of spine power, we need to start thinking about hip power and use the spine accordingly, and to muscle pulse or contract and relax accordingly as well to go with that. So myth number 3 is that the obliques and QL are sort of there to develop rotational power. They are not. They are there to stabilize, and they are there to transfer power through the core from bottom to top or from top to bottom. If you get the pulse wrong, or if you get a bend in the spine, that is known as an energy leak.